And these types of things centered around the wounds of Christ again. And it's based on the idea that wherever Christ goes throughout the earth, he shows the people the mysteries. In fact, there's traditions that talk about how that he appears to his mother Mary after his resurrection and his ascension out of the underworld, where he frees the captive spirits who have been held captive there, resurrects them, and brings them to his mother Mary, and he shows his mother Mary different gestures. He embraces her, and these gestures show up in later liturgies and masses that were performed by different ecclesiastical leaders, and it's all tied in together. But also, he shows her different types of hand clasps, but you see later on as she makes her pilgrimage into the afterlife, her assumption, Mary's assumption up into heaven. She's guided up into heaven, and there you see artworks that show her being greeted by Christ, who clasps her hands and allows her into heaven. Well, all these types of mysteries filtered down through the centuries. And the idea of the Militant Christ, as I mentioned earlier, the Militant Christ version of the Wandering Christ is of interest here because of how it ties in with later Teutonic Knight orders and different Knight orders, which later influenced Heinrich Himmler, Adolf Hitler, and other Germanic orders during the 19th century and on into especially the 20th century, where was the time frame for Heinrich Himmler and Adolf Hitler.
The banner here, seen with Christ, is a reminder of the banners that were used by the militant orders to show that Christ was a victorious knight king who marched throughout the world to defeat the devil. And this was their theme. And this shows up in the Teutonic Knights by the cross symbol, which they would, by this symbol they shall conquer. And it also shows up in the Masonic orders, which were borrowed from the early Christian mystery dramas. The banner with the cross symbol was the symbol of the king that conquers. In some cases, he is a militant king who breaks down the doors of hell and also breaks through the realms, the different realms of existence and nations of the earth to conquer. And this was the kind of the basic theme, which, as mentioned, the knights were inspired by when they went forth to march and conquer. And this shows up in later orders, Germanic orders, as well as the Teutonic Knight orders, the Jesuit orders, and eventually these orders influenced Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, who used some of these basic militant ideas to form their new...
So Hitler developed his own Knight Templar type of orders and ceremonies, where he had them do the banner ceremonies, where he would take the banner that was drenched in blood during the coup that his followers attempted to do during the coup, where they tried to take over the Bavarian government. Well, this blood banner was touched to all the other banners, and those who were carrying the banners would shake the hand of Hitler as kind of a homage to Hitler, hand clasping, just like the Germanic warlords and Germanic kings would do with oaths and hand-clasping rites of homage, where they would clasp the hand of the king, or the nobles would clasp the hand of the warlords to pay homage and swear oaths to the king and the warlords that they would fight for the king or for the warlords. So this is where we get these influences with the Knights Templars, the Teutonic Knights, and the hand-clasping rituals were passed down. In his early adolescence, Hitler was influenced by Helena Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine and also Jörg Lanz's Astara, which was started in 1905 and circulated throughout Germany. Hitler sought to get back copies of Astara. Jörg Lanz was a monk, a renegade monk that wrote about, and these ideologies influenced Hitler and Heinrich Himmler in their forming of their new Templars, their new order in Europe, and the unification of Germany, Gleichschaltung.
For a few coppers, he buys his first anti-Semitic pamphlets. These are part of the Ostara library for the blonde defenders of the rights of man. In order to obtain certain numbers no longer in circulation, Hitler looks up Ostara's publisher, Jörg Lanz von Lied, founded an order for blonde, blue-eyed men.
Everyone was brought into line with the new order. They called it Gleichschaltung, unification.
Unification, where they sought to bring back Germany back to the good old days of knight kings like Charlemagne, back before when Germany and Italy and France were united, before Charlemagne's grandson split up the nations into warring kingdoms. Well, they wanted to unify Europe again by force. This is what Hitler sought to do by force. But later, through treaties, trade agreements, under the European Union, this European Union that was sought by Hitler by force was done by treaties and trades agreements. So this is how they got around unifying Germany and unifying Europe, the way it was kind of like during the days of Charlemagne during the 800s.
How can we arrest racial decay, asks Adolf Hitler. Shall we form a select company of the truly initiated? An order, the Brotherhood of Templars around the Holy Grail of pure blood. By 1934, almost 10 years after its creation, the SS is in the process of becoming Hitler's Brotherhood of Templars, a mystical order dedicated to the creation of an empire. Himmler believes that his divine mission is to complete the work of King Heinrich. He will create from the SS a knightly order which will rule the country.
Knights would clasp the hands of the king, or the king would clasp the hands of the knight, and swear oaths of homage to fight for the king. These militant ideas of angel knights battling the demonic forces in the underworld and rescuing the souls out of hell passed on into the hand-clasping rituals of the Knight Orders, or the Knight Templar Orders, and other militant orders, as mentioned earlier. Rites of passage handclasp. This type of thing passed on in the later orders among the stonemasons, who eventually, of course, became the Freemasons, who were very familiar with the handclasp because of how they had carved them in stone and passed on into later Germanic orders, which Heinrich Himmler and Hitler took from, borrowed from.
The SS that Karl Wolff joined was Nazism's black order of chivalry. Motto, my oath is loyalty. Insignia, the death's head. Their black uniforms symbolized their ideals: severity, terror, the cult of the conquering Superman. In Mein Kampf, Hitler had written, "As National Socialists, we see our program in our flag. In red, we see the social idea of the movement. In white, the nationalistic idea. In the swastika, the mission of the struggle for the victory of Aryan man. And by the same token, the victory of the idea of creative work, which as such always has been and always will be anti-Semitic.